Maria wiped the sweat from her face as the morning sun climbed higher in the sky. She had been cleaning the millionaire's farm since dawn, just like she did every Tuesday and Friday. The big house stood quiet behind her, its windows watching like silent eyes. Mr. Blackwell, the millionaire who owned everything as far as Maria could see, had left 3 days ago. He didn't say where he was going. He never did. But something felt different this time. The air tasted strange, like the moment before a storm arrives. Maria pushed her cleaning cart toward the old barn. It was her last job of the day. The barn was huge, bigger than 3 houses put together. Inside, it smelled like hay and old wood and dust that had been sleeping for 100 years. She swept the floor with her broom, listening to the soft swish sound it made. The chickens outside clucked and argued with each other. A horse stamped its foot in the stable next door. Everything seemed normal. Then Maria heard it. Thud. Her broom had hit something that sounded wrong. Not like wood. Not like dirt. Something hollow underneath. She stopped sweeping. Her heart beat a little faster. She tapped the floor again with the broom handle. Thud. Thud. That's strange, Maria whispered to herself. She got down on her knees and brushed away the hay and dust with her hands. The floor looked normal, just old wooden boards worn smooth by time. But when she pressed down, one section moved slightly, like it wasn't nailed down properly. Maria's fingers found a gap between the boards. She pulled, and a small cloud of dust rose into the air, making her cough. As the dust cleared, she saw something that made her breath catch in her throat. A perfectly round hole, no bigger than her fist, sat in the floor. It was too perfect, too smooth to be an accident. Someone had cut this hole on purpose. Maria leaned closer. The hole was dark inside, so dark it seemed to swallow the light. A cold breeze drifted up from below, touching her face like icy fingers. She shivered. "Hello?" she called down into the hole. Her voice echoed back, but it sounded wrong. Too far away, like the hole went down forever. Maria knew she should stop. She should close the hole, forget about it, and go home. That's what a smart person would do. But her hands wouldn't listen to her brain. They kept searching around the edges of the hole, feeling for something, anything. Then she found it. Hidden beneath a thin board was a metal handle, cold and smooth. It was attached to something bigger, a trap door built right into the floor. Maria's mouth went dry. Her hands shook as she grabbed the handle. Should she open it? What if something bad was down there? What if Mr. Blackwell had hidden this for a good reason? But what if someone needed help? What if there was danger and only she could stop it? She pulled the handle. The trap door was heavy, so heavy that Maria had to use both hands and all her strength. It opened slowly with a long, low creak that echoed through the barn. The sound made her skin crawl. Below the trap door was a ladder made of rusty metal. It led down into darkness, so thick that Maria couldn't see the bottom. The cold air rushed up stronger now, carried with a smell she couldn't name. Something like metal and medicine mixed together. And underneath everything else, she heard it, a hum, soft and steady, like a machine was running somewhere far below. Like something was alive down there, breathing and waiting. Maria's brain screamed at her to run, to close the trap door and pretend she never saw it, to go home to her small apartment and forget this day ever happened. But her curiosity was stronger than her fear. It pulled at her like a rope tied around her heart. "Just a quick look," she whispered, though no one was there to hear her, "just to see what it is." She turned around and put her foot on the first rung of a ladder. The metal was so cold it burned through her shoe. The ladder groaned under her weight, and tiny flakes of rust fell into the darkness below. Maria took a deep breath and started climbing down. The light from above grew smaller with each step. The barn floor seemed miles away now. The humming sound grew louder, filling her ears, making her head feel strange and light. Down, down, down she went. The ladder seemed to go on forever. Maria's arms ached from holding on so tight. Her legs trembled. She wanted to look down to see how much farther she had to go, but she was too scared. Finally, after what felt like 100 years, her foot touched solid ground. Maria let go of the ladder and turned around slowly. What she saw made her heart stop. She was standing in a room. No, a chamber carved out of the earth itself. But this was no natural cave. The walls were smooth and covered with white tiles, like a hospital. Bright lights hummed in the ceiling, even though there were no switches she could see. Machines lined the walls, their screens glowing green and blue in the darkness. Tubes and wires ran everywhere like metal vines. In the center of the chamber sat a large glass capsule, big enough to hold a person. And on the capsule, written in red letters, were two words that made Maria's blood turn ice. Project Rebirth. The humming was coming from the machines. They were all running, all working, doing something Maria couldn't understand. The air tasted like metal and cold and something else, something that reminded her of hospitals and sadness. Maria stepped closer to the capsule, her footsteps echoing in the strange room. Her hands were shaking so badly she had to squeeze them into fists. She had to know. She had to see what was inside. Maria pressed her face against the glass and looked in. At first, she saw nothing but fog and blue light. Then the fog shifted and Maria saw him. A man lay inside the capsule, perfectly still. His eyes were closed. His skin was pale, almost white, like he had never seen the sun. Tubes connected to his arms and chest. He looked asleep, but not the peaceful kind of sleep, the forever kind. But his chest was moving, up and down, up and down. He was breathing. Maria jumped back from the capsule, her heart hammering in her chest. Her mind couldn't make sense of what she was seeing. This was impossible. This was wrong. This was... One of the machines beeped loudly. Then another. Then all of them at once, filling the chamber with noise and flashing lights. Maria spun around, looking for the ladder, looking for escape. But something held her frozen in place. The capsule was opening. A thin line of steam hissed from the edges. The glass lid began to rise slowly, and the cold air from inside rolled out like fog, covering the floor. Maria couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. She could only watch as the lid opened wider, wider, until finally it stopped. The man inside didn't move for a long moment. Then his finger twitched. His eyes opened, and they looked right at Maria. Maria's scream caught in her throat. She stumbled backward, her feet sliding on the cold metal floor. The man in the capsule stared at her with eyes that seemed too bright, too clear, like someone who had been asleep for a very long time and suddenly remembered how to see. "Please," he whispered. His voice was rough and dry, like old paper crumbling. "Please, help me?" Maria's brain told her to run, to climb that ladder as fast as she could and never look back. But something in the man's voice stopped her. He sounded scared. He sounded hurt. He sounded like he needed her. Who are you?" Maria managed to say, her voice shaking. The man tried to sit up, but the tubes connected to his body pulled him back. He winced in pain. "My name is Thomas. Thomas Wright. I don't know how long I've been here. What year is it?" "It's 2024, Maria said. Thomas's face went white, whiter than it already was. No, that's impossible. I came here in 1997. That was just yesterday. I remember 27 years. Maria's mind spun. This man had been asleep in this capsule for 27 years. "Please," Thomas said again, his eyes filling with tears. "Please help me get out of here." He said it would only be for a few months. He promised he would wake me up. Who promised? Maria asked, though somewhere deep inside, she already knew the answer. "Mr. Blackwell," Thomas whispered. "He said he could save me. I was dying. Cancer. The doctors gave me 6 months to live. Then Mr. Blackwell came to the hospital. He said he was working on something special, something that could cure anything. He said if I let him freeze me, put me to sleep, he could wake me up when he found the cure." Maria felt cold all over. She looked around the chamber again, seeing it differently now. This wasn't just a secret room. This was a laboratory, a place where Mr. Blackwell had been doing experiments, dangerous experiments on people. "I have to get you out," Maria said, moving closer to the capsule. She started pulling at the tubes, but Thomas grabbed her hand. Wait, he said. Look around first. You need to understand what this place is, what he's been doing. Maria nodded. She walked slowly around the chamber, her eyes taking in everything. The machines beeped and hummed, their screens showing numbers and words she didn't understand. Heart rate, temperature, brain activity, all measuring Thomas, keeping him alive but not awake. On the far wall, Maria found a desk covered with papers and notebooks. She picked up the nearest one and opened it. The handwriting was neat and careful. Mr. Blackwell's handwriting. Day 1. Subject has been successfully placed in cryostasis. All vital signs stable. Day 47. No change. Subject remains in perfect suspension. Day 203. Breakthrough. The serum shows promise. Subject's cancer cells are dying. Day 891. Subject is cured. But waking him now would be premature. There's so much more to learn. Maria's hands shook as she turned the pages. Entry after entry, year after year. Mr. Blackwell had cured Thomas. He could have woken him up, but he didn't. He kept Thomas asleep because he wanted to keep studying him, keep testing him, keep using him. He lied to you, Maria said, her voice hard with anger. He cured you years ago. He just didn't want to let you go. Thomas closed his eyes, and a tear rolled down his pale cheek. All this time, my family, they must think I'm dead. They do, Maria said softly, picking up another paper. It was a newspaper clipping, yellow with age. The headline read, Local man Thomas Wright missing, presumed dead. Maria kept searching the desk, and what she found made her stomach turn. More notebooks, more papers, more names. Sarah Chun, Marcus Rodriguez, Elena Petrov, 12 names in total. 12 people who had been sick, who had trusted Mr. Blackwell, who had let him put them to sleep. There were others, Maria whispered, horror filling every part of her body. You're not the only one. Where are they? Thomas asked, trying again to sit up. Maria looked around the chamber. There was only one capsule. Only Thomas. I don't know. I don't see them. Then she noticed something on the wall behind the machines. Words carved directly into stone, deep and permanent, like someone wanted to make sure they could never be erased. Immortality at any cost. Below the words was a metal door that Maria hadn't seen before. It was small and round, like the door to a safe. Her hands trembled as she reached for the handle. Don't, Thomas said. Please. I don't think we want to know what's in there. But Maria had already opened it. Inside was a small room, no bigger than a closet. And inside that room were 11 more capsules, smaller than Thomas's, stacked on shelves like jars in a pantry. Empty capsules. Every single one was empty, their lids open, their insides dark and cold. Maria felt sick. She knew what had happened. Mr. Blackwell had experimented on 12 people. 11 had died. Only Thomas survived. She slammed the door shut and leaned against the wall, trying to breathe, trying not to scream. We have to get out of here, she said. We have to get you out and tell someone. The police, the government, someone who can stop him. The tubes, Thomas said. You have to disconnect them carefully. If you pull them out too fast, I could die. Maria nodded and moved back to the capsule. Her hands were steadier now. Anger had burned away her fear. She carefully removed each tube, one at a time, just like Thomas told her. With each one that came free, he looked a little stronger, a little more alive. Finally, the last tube came loose. Thomas slowly, carefully, climbed out of the capsule. His legs shook like a baby deer learning to walk. Maria caught him before he fell. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for not running away. We're not safe yet, Maria said. She looked up at the ladder leading back to the barn. It seemed so far away now. Thomas took a deep breath and nodded. Let's go. They moved toward the ladder together, Thomas leaning heavily on Maria's shoulder. They had only taken a few steps when Maria heard something that made her blood freeze. A beep, different from all the other beeps. Louder, more urgent. Both of them turned to look at the machines. Every screen had turned red. Every alarm was ringing. And across each screen, the same message flashed over and over. Security breach. Subject removed. Initiating Protocol 7. What's Protocol 7? Maria asked, fear creeping back into her voice. Thomas's face went pale. When I agreed to this, Mr. Blackwell made me read all the rules, all the safety measures. Protocol 7 means, he swallowed hard. It means the chamber destroys itself, to protect the secret. The floor beneath their feet began to shake. Dust fell from the ceiling. One of the machines sparked and caught fire. Run! Thomas shouted. Maria grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the ladder. Behind them, more machines exploded. The white tiles on the walls began to crack. The neat, clean chamber was falling apart, becoming a tomb. Thomas grabbed the ladder first, but his weak arms couldn't pull him up fast enough. Maria pushed from below, helping him, urging him forward. Climb faster. The heat from the fire was terrible now. Smoke filled the chamber, making it hard to see, hard to breathe. Maria's eyes burned. Her lungs screamed for clean air. Thomas was halfway up the ladder. Maria jumped on below him, climbing as fast as she could. Her hands slipped on the rusty metal. One of her shoes fell off, tumbling down into the fire below. Up they climbed. The shaking got worse. The ladder groaned and bent. One of the bolts, holding it to the wall, snapped free. Don't stop. Maria screamed, though she didn't know if Thomas could hear her over the noise. Finally, she saw a light above. The trapdoor. The barn. Freedom. Thomas pulled himself up and out, then reached down to help Maria. His hand grabbed hers just as the ladder broke completely, falling away into the burning chamber below. Maria crashed on the barn floor, coughing and gasping. Thomas collapsed beside her, his chest heaving. For a moment, they just lay there, breathing, alive, safe. Then Thomas looked at Maria with wide, terrified eyes. He knows, Thomas whispered. Mr. Blackwell. The system would have sent him an alert. He knows I'm free. Maria's heart, which had just started to slow down, began racing again. He's coming back, Thomas said, and he won't let us tell anyone what we found. Below them, through the open trapdoor, Maria could hear the chamber collapsing, the fire spreading, the evidence being destroyed. But somewhere above them, in the afternoon sky, she heard something else. The sound of a car engine. Coming closer. Coming fast. Coming home. We have to hide, Maria said, jumping to her feet. She pulled Thomas up, though his legs still wobbled like jelly. The car engine grew louder. Through the cracks in the barn walls, Maria saw a black car racing up the long driveway, dust flying behind it like an angry cloud. Mr. Blackwell. There's no time to run, Thomas said, his voice shaking. He'll see us if we try to leave. Maria looked around frantically. The barn was mostly empty except for old hay bales, some tools, and her cleaning cart. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere that would keep them safe. Then she saw it. Her phone, sitting in her cleaning cart, where she'd left it that morning. Call for help? Thomas said, reading her mind. Call the police. Call anyone. Maria grabbed her phone with trembling fingers. She dialed 911, pressing phone to her ears so hard it hurt. 911, what's your emergency? A calm voice answered. My name is Maria Santos. I'm at the Blackwell estate on Old Mill Road. There's a man here. He's been keeping people prisoner underground. He's been doing experiments. Please, you have to send help right now. He's coming in. The barn door exploded open. Mr. Blackwell stood in the doorway, breathing hard. He was a tall man with gray hair and cold blue eyes that looked like frozen lakes. He wore an expensive suit, but it was wrinkled and dirty, like he'd been traveling in a hurry. Those cold eyes moved from Maria to Thomas. When he saw Thomas standing there, alive and awake, something terrible happened to Mr. Blackwell's face. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was something worse. Disappointment, like a child whose toy had broken. Thomas, Mr. Blackwell said softly, you've ruined everything. Nang? Ma'am, are you still there? The voice on the phone said. Maria held the phone where Mr. Blackwell could see it. The police are coming. They heard everything. It's over. Mr. Blackwell laughed. It was a cold, empty sound. Over? My dear girl, you don't understand. I have friends in very high places. Friends who benefit from my research. Friends who will make sure this little incident disappears. He started walking toward them slowly, like a cat stalking a mouse. I was so close, he said, talking more to himself than to them. So close to perfecting it. Immortality. Real immortality. Not just freezing people, but actually stopping death itself. Thomas was my best subject. His body adapted to the treatment better than anyone else. I needed just a few more years of data. I'm not your subject. Thomas shouted, and Maria was surprised by the strength in his voice. I'm a person. All of those people you killed were people. We had families. We had lives. You had death, Mr. Blackwell said coldly. I offered you hope. I offered you time. So what if I needed to study you a little longer? What's a few years compared to forever? Beneath their feet, the ground rumbled. Smoke started seeping up through the cracks in the floorboards where the trap door stood open. The fire from the chamber below was spreading. The barn is going to collapse, Maria said. We need to get out. All of us. But Mr. Blackwell didn't move. He stared at the smoke rising from the floor, watching his life's work burn away. 30 years, he whispered. 30 years of research. All of it. Gone. It should be gone, Thomas said. What you did was wrong. You took away people's lives. You lied to us. You. Mr. Blackwell moved faster than Maria thought possible. He grabbed a shovel leaning against the wall and swung it toward Thomas. No. Maria screamed. She threw herself between them. The shovel hit her shoulder instead of Thomas's head. Pain exploded through her body, bright and terrible, but she stayed standing. Thomas caught her before she fell. Behind them, the floor cracked. Flames shot up through the opening, reaching for the dry hay scattered around the barn. The fire spread in seconds. It crawled up the walls, eating the old like it was paper. Black smoke filled the air, making it hard to see, hard to breathe. You've killed us all, Mr. Blackwell shouted, but his voice sounded far away now, lost in the roar of the fire. The door! Thomas yelled. He pulled Maria toward the barn entrance, away from Mr. Blackwell, away from the flames. They stumbled outside into the bright afternoon sun. Maria's lungs burned. Her shoulder throbbed where the shovel had hit her. But they were alive. They were out. Behind them, the barn groaned like a dying animal. The roof caved in with a tremendous crash. Flames shot into the sky, orange and red and angry. Maria and Thomas collapsed on the grass, far enough away to be safe, close enough to feel the heat on their faces. Mr. Blackwell, Maria gasped. He's still in there. They watched, horror and pity mixing in their hearts, as the barn burned. Maria wanted to feel glad that the man who had hurt so many people might be getting what he deserved. But she couldn't. She just felt sad. Sad for everyone Mr. Blackwell had hurt. Sad for the life he'd wasted on trying to cheat death. Sad that someone so smart had used his gifts to do something so terrible. Then, through the smoke and flames, a figure stumbled out of the barn. Mr. Blackwell fell to his knees on the grass, coughing and covered in ash. He looked up at Maria and Thomas with eyes that no longer looked cold. They looked lost. In the distance, sirens wailed. Getting closer, getting louder. Red and blue lights flashed through the trees as police cars and fire trucks raced up the driveway. Behind them came an ambulance, its siren cutting through the air. People rushed everywhere. Firefighters sprayed water on the barn, but it was too late. The building was gone. Police officers surrounded Mr. Blackwell, pulling him to his feet, putting handcuffs on his wrists. He didn't fight. He just stared at the burning barn, watching his secrets turn to ash. A paramedic wrapped a blanket around Maria's shoulders and checked her injuries. Another one examined Thomas, amazed that someone could look so pale and weak but still be alive. You're very brave, the paramedic told Maria. You saved his life. Maria looked at Thomas, who sat in the back of the ambulance with an oxygen mask over his face. He raised his hand in a small wave. She waved back. A police detective came over, a kind-looking woman with gray hair and tired eyes. "Can you tell me what happened here?" Maria took a deep breath and told her everything. About the hole in the floor, about the underground chamber, about Thomas and the other 11 people who had trusted Mr. Blackwell and paid with their lives. The detective wrote it all down, her face growing more serious with every word. "There's something else," Maria said. She pulled out her phone and showed the detective the photos she'd taken in the chamber. She'd been so scared, she'd almost forgotten she'd done it. But there they were, pictures of the machines, the notebooks, the capsules, the card words on the wall. Evidence. The detective smiled. "You did good," she said. "Really good. This man won't hurt anyone else. I promise you that." As the sun began to set, painting the sky orange and pink, the last fire truck packed up and left. The barn was nothing but smoking ruins now. The hole that led to the chamber had collapsed completely, buried under tons of burned wood and ash. Mr. Blackwell was taken away in a police car, his head down, his expensive suit ruined. Thomas was loaded into an ambulance. Before they closed the doors, he called out to Maria. "Thank you," he said, tears running down his face. "Thank you for giving me my life back." "What will you do?" Maria asked. Thomas smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him. "Find my family. See my daughter. She was 5 years old when I left. She's 32 now. I miss her whole life. But maybe I could be part of what's left." The ambulance doors closed, and it drove away slowly, carrying Thomas toward a future he'd been robbed of for 27 years. Maria stood alone in the driveway as the last police car pulled away. The estate was quiet now. The sun had set completely, and stars began appearing in the darkening sky. She should feel relieved. The danger was over. The secret was out. Justice would be done. But as Maria walked to her car, something made her stop and look back at the ruins of the barn. In the darkness, in the space where the trapdoor had been, she thought she saw something. A faint blue glow deep beneath the rubble, pulsing, rhythmic, like a heartbeat, like machines that refused to die. Maria blinked, and the glow was gone. Maybe it was just her imagination. Maybe the fire had damaged her eyes. Maybe she'd seen nothing at all. But that night, lying in her bed, Maria couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard that humming sound from the chamber, that steady, patient hum of machines that had worked for 27 years and could work for 27 more. She thought about the 11 empty capsules. She thought about Mr. Blackwell's friends in high places. She thought about the words carved into stone. Immortality at any cost. The next morning, Maria went back to the estate. She had to see it in the daylight, had to prove to herself that it was really over. Police tape surrounded the burned barn, but Maria ducked under it and walked carefully through the ruins. In the bright morning sun, she could see clear to the bottom of the collapsed chamber. Everything was destroyed. The machines were melted. The capsule was crushed. Even the notebooks had burned to nothing. But there, in the ashes, something caught the sunlight. A metal tag, no bigger than a business card. Maria picked it up and brushed away the soot. The letters stamped into the metal were still clear. R. Whitmore Laboratories Project Rebirth, Site 7. Site 7. Not Site 1. Not the only site. Site 7. Maria's blood ran cold. She pulled out her phone and took a picture of the tag. Then she called the detective. "I found something you need to see," Maria said. That evening, the news reported that Mr. Blackwell had been charged with 12 counts of kidnapping and 11 counts of murder. The reporter said that police were investigating whether he'd worked alone or had help. Maria watched the news and held the metal tag in her hand. She knew the truth that the reporters didn't. Mr. Blackwell hadn't worked alone. And Project Rebirth hadn't ended with one burned barn. Somewhere out there, at sites 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe more, other chambers hummed in the darkness. Other machines kept working. Other people slept, waiting to wake up, waiting to be saved, or waiting to be forgotten. The story wasn't over. It was just beginning. Maria looked at her phone, at the pictures she'd taken, at the evidence she'd saved. She thought about Thomas, finally free after 27 years. She thought about the 11 people who would never be free, and she made a decision. Some secrets were meant to stay buried, but some secrets needed to be dragged into the light, no matter how much they burned, no matter how dangerous they were. Maria Santos, a simple maid who just wanted to do her job and go home, had stumbled into something bigger than herself, and she wasn't going to let it go. Not until every site was found. Not until every person was freed. Not until Project Rebirth was dead and buried forever. The hole in the barn had opened more than just a floor. It had opened a door to the truth. And once a door like that opened, it could never truly be closed again. What did you think of Maria's terrifying discovery? Do you think there are more secret chambers out there? What would you do if you found a mysterious hole in the floor? Drop a like if this story kept you on the edge of your seat. Share it with someone who loves mystery and suspense. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories that will make your heart race and your imagination soar. Thanks for reading. And remember, some doors are meant to stay closed, but some secrets are meant to be found. See you in the next story.